So recently I've been working with people on court and online that have been struggling with the serve, and in particular as they're coming into the ball, just opening up their strings a little bit too early. So rather than being on edge where we can come into the ball like this and at the last second pronate through it to get that little bit more power, as I say, they're opening up the racket a little bit too soon. So I'm going to talk about that, go into a little bit more detail, and hopefully help some of you that have the same issue. So first of all, if you're a beginner or you're working with a beginner, there is nothing wrong with facing the strings to the ball and getting that ball in play. It might start off being a little bit of a push, and then you can start having it be a little bit more of a throw, but it makes sense to face the strings to the ball because it's the easiest way to get the job done. If you're not at that level, if you can't do what I've just done, which is to put the ball in play in a nice coordinated manner, you shouldn't be in a continental grip. Don't ask people to use a continental grip if they can't do this. So if you're at a low level, I wouldn't worry about the racket facing the ball. I would recommend it. This is what I have people doing. Start like this. Don't start like this if you're not at an advanced level. But anyway, as you start to develop the throwing motion and the strings start facing the court, you can still start bending your arm. You can still start throwing your elbow down court and up at the ball and develop that throwing motion, right? After a while, we're going to start wanting to use the continental grip. And as we start to use the continental grip, it's going to require coming in and really pronating through the shot. So if you can't do it, if you don't have the throwing motion with a Eastern grip, then you're probably not going to have it with a continental grip. And it's really important that you have it when you start using the continental grip. So get your continental grip and feel like you can start throwing the arm at the ball. Well, what I recommend is as you drop the racket down your back here, that I see the racket this side of your head, right? And the racket is now on edge. But before it completes the drop, I want to see the elbow roll out, and then you're going to go at the ball. So that's the throwing motion. Just like if I was throwing this ball, as the arm bends, my elbow rolls out, and that's how you throw. Same with the racket. Racket's dropping down the back, elbow's rolling out, and that's a throwing motion. So what tends to happen, I know there's a couple of YouTube videos out there where people are talking about the most effective serve is not coming this way, but going this way. Right, going that way and involving your shoulder. And when I was working with Jeff Salzenstein, that's what we were talking about. Is what I'm demonstrating is a bit more of a throwing motion like this. And I was saying that his serve, or the serve like the Sampras serve, is a bit more from the shoulder, almost like if you were throwing something heavy. Maybe not a basketball, but if you got some weight other than a tennis ball, maybe a softball or something, and you throw it with using your shoulder a little bit more, that's kind of the advanced serving motion. If you watch Federer, he doesn't necessarily look like he's throwing a racket at the ball. He's using his shoulder a little bit more, and it just deviates a little bit from a throwing action. But I'm assuming Federer's not watching this, and you're just trying to develop good fundamentals. And if you can stick with the throwing motion, it's a lot easier to get the racket on edge because the racket stays on edge here as it's dropping down the back, and then you roll the elbow out. The racket can stay on edge all the way up into the contact. Now, if you're a little bit worried about your timing, you're generally going to open it up because you're a little bit scared of the timing issue. But if you can just hold it there for a little bit longer and then pronate at the last second, that's going to give you a little bit of power. But if you do the Federer serve or the Sampras serve, where you go like this, and you go this way, maybe you knock that party hat off your head, and the racket opens up, I think it's difficult for some people to get the nice, simple fundamentals because you're going strings open. And if you watch Federer, his strings will be open at some point on this service motion. He'll open the strings, but then as he throws the arm, it'll get back on edge. But if you're struggling with that, try and keep it on edge the whole time. So if you watch me, the racket's going to drop down my back on edge, my elbow is going to roll out, and it will always remain on edge. And there's nothing wrong with that serve. Maybe Now, the other thing that people struggle with is there's a lot of advice about staying sideways. Now, if you watch Roger Federer serving, at the point of contact, he'll be a little bit sideways. But by the time he lands, because once he hits, he keeps going up and up and up and up. He's a lot more athletic than us. And by the time he finishes this shot, he's rotated. So that contact point for Federer is like a third of the way through his motion. But he's able to hit and still be able to rotate his shoulders as he lands. Now, if he's hitting a kick serve where you start throwing in a different direction, then he might not rotate his shoulders too much. But for a slice serve or a flat serve, he's going to be hitting slightly sideways and then rotate through the shot as he finishes off his motion. But for you guys, I think you want to try and square up your shoulders a little bit at the point of contact and try and feel like your shoulders are rotating through the shot. So my shoulders are going to turn, and then rotate through. So the contact point is in the middle of my shoulder rotation. For a lot of people that I work with, they tend to stay a little sideways and the body's in the way. They're all restricted and they're struggling to generate the power to pronate the arm through the shot, and the racket tends to open up because they're hitting a sideways shot instead of this kind of shot here where they can go get it and they have all this freedom to throw up and in front of them. So I know it's a little controversial, a lot of people talking about being sideways, but I think if you watch a lot of pros, they'll be in this position where the shoulders are in line with the baseline, but the shoulders won't be level like this. If I just do a regular throw motion, maybe my shoulders will be a little bit too level. So I do want to throw up and get up there, but I think there's nothing wrong with having your shoulders square to the court because it's going to prevent you from opening up too soon. It'll allow you to stay on edge and it'll allow you to pronate through the shot a little bit more effortlessly. All right, guys, hope that helped. I was just freestyling, so hopefully that's all right and it made sense. Let me know if you got any questions. Talk to you soon. If you guys are interested in working with me one-on-one for 6 weeks, where we get on Zoom, analyze your strokes, and then we can send videos back and forth to each other until you've really improved your game, just visit my website at tpatennis.com.